If you're eating healthy or what you think is healthy and the scale still isn't moving, I'm going to explain what is actually going on for you. Most women I talk to have never tracked a single day of food in their life. You think you're eating healthy because you're having the salad instead of the burger, the chicken instead of the fries, and that's genuinely the whole strategy. You don't know if you're hitting enough protein in your day. You've probably never thought about fiber. You just know you're meant to have protein. So somewhere in your day you have some, and that's it. There's no actual number behind any of it. And that's exactly why you can eat healthy for months and the scales won't move, because your body doesn't respond to healthy, it responds to energy. So, by the end of this video, you're going to understand your body better than you ever have, and more importantly, you're going to understand why this is genuinely the last time you ever have to work this out. So, let's start with the actual numbers, because there are only a handful, and once you know them for life. Your first number is maintenance calories. Your body burns calories every single day just by staying alive. Breathing, digesting, thinking, your heart beating, everything going on right now while you're watching this, that is your BMR. And that's your baseline before you've even gotten out of bed. Then we add in the movement you actually do, your steps, the housework that never ends, your workout, your fidgeting, all of that on top of your BMR gives you your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. That number is roughly what your body burns in an average day. And here's the whole game. Eat around that number and you'll maintain weight. Eat above it and you'll gain weight. Eat under it and you'll lose weight. And that's it. That's the entire mechanism behind every single result you've ever had or not had. The problem is, almost none of you actually know what your real number is. You've never tracked, so you're not guessing off data, you're guessing off vibes, and you cannot hit a target you've never measured before. How you actually find your number. This is where it falls apart for almost every woman I talk to, because you can't hit a target you've never measured. Your real number isn't something a formula spits out, like a calorie calculator. It's specific to your body, your history, your current hormones, how many times have you been on a diet and restricted, and it only shows up when you actually look at what you're eating over a period of time, not just a single day and not your best day. And here's the part that surprises most people. When women finally look at it properly and how many calories they're actually consuming, they're completely shocked. And the same few things show up almost every time. Protein's lower than they think, fiber's basically not even on their radar, and the week itself isn't as consistent as they assumed. You might be doing everything right Monday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday politely wipe most of that out. Not because you've done anything wrong on purpose, just because no one's actually added it up for you before. And that's not a discipline gap, that's an information gap. You've been managing something you've never measured, protein and fiber. Why these two matter more than you think before calories even come into it. There are two things inside your day that matter more than almost anything else: your protein and your fiber. Protein is the reason some women come out of the other side of a fat loss phase leaner and toned, and other women come out just smaller and softer. Same weight loss, completely different results. If you're not deliberately protecting your muscle while you're in a deficit, your body will happily burn muscle right alongside of the fat, and you end up lighter but softer. Nobody wants that, especially as you're aging. We are all losing muscle mass each year, which means that affects your metabolism and your bone density. Fiber's the quieter one, but it's the difference between a deficit that feels bearable and one that feels like punishment, because it's what actually keeps you full. Most women have never even been told fiber matters for fat loss at all. They think it's a digestion thing, not a hunger thing. Exactly how much of each and how that shifts depending on your body and your goals. That's the part that has to be personalized to you. Fiber helps reduce your inflammation in your body, helps your gut health and hormones. That's why we build personalized programs for each client so it suits their needs. Your second number is the deficit. Once you know your real maintenance, the deficit itself is almost the easy part. You're just eating a little bit under that number consistently instead of eating healthy. The size of that deficit matters more than people think. Too small and nothing will happen. Too aggressive and you're back to losing muscle and wrecking your metabolism. And then saying screw it and overeating again, which is exactly the mistake we're about to get into. What the right gap actually looks like for your body, that depends on your history, your hormones, how much you've yo-yoed before, all of it. That's not a one-size number, and it's exactly what we map out with you inside the program rather than you guessing at it alone. Some women can only handle a 300 calorie deficit, while some can handle a 500 calorie deficit. The one that works best is the one that you can stick with, knowing when to step out of the deficit. Now, here's something almost nobody ever teaches you, and it's the actual reason so many women lose the weight, go on a holiday, and come back 5 kilos heavier and end up starting completely from scratch again. You were never meant to be in a deficit all the time. There will be stretches, a holiday, a genuinely stressful few weeks, the kids are sick, work's a nightmare. This is where your body and your head are not in a place to be restricting anything. And most women handle that one of two ways. Either they grit their teeth through the deficit anyway, which always ends up in a binge because nobody's built to restrict through real stress, or they throw the whole thing out completely, decide the weeks of write-off, and by the time they're back, months of progress has unraveled and they're rebuilding from zero again. There's a third option, and it's the one that actually holds long term. You learn your maintenance numbers properly, and you learn how to move between maintenance calories and a deficit on purpose. So when a holiday comes up or life genuinely gets hard, you shift to maintenance instead of a deficit. You eat the food, you go to the dinners, you have the wine. Your weight holds instead of climbing, and when things settle again, you step back into your deficit exactly where you left off. No restart, no losing the same 5 kilos for the third time this year. This, more than anything else, is the actual difference between the women who reach their goal and stay there and the women who are on their fourth attempt at the same 10 kilos. It was never that the second group worked less hard. Is that nobody ever taught them that they were allowed to step out of a deficit on purpose, safely, without admitting they failed. And once you actually understand this, it takes so much pressure off. You're not stressing over a holiday or a hard week because you know how to move in and out of it safely. That's exactly what we teach every woman inside Shape, the mistake that keep women stuck for years. Now, here's what almost every woman over 30 does instead. And it's worth naming because I guarantee you have done at least one of these. Dropping calories way too low, cutting carbs completely, endless cardio, keto, intermittent fasting, coffee for breakfast, smashing HIIT trainings most days of the week. All of that does three things. You lose muscle, your metabolism slows down, and fat loss gets even harder, not easier. You end up smaller and weaker. What you actually want is leaner, stronger, more energy for your actual life. So please stop doing this to yourself. Most women either do nothing or they swing to the opposite extreme and they try to out-exercise a bad diet. Walking more consistently and strength training a couple of times a week does more for your body composition, your metabolism, your bones, especially through perimenopause and menopause than any amount of punishing cardio ever will. How much of each for your body at your stage again, that's personal. And that's the bit we work out with you. If you have a high level jog roll and your stress is extremely high each day, then adding more isn't going to help. And one more, if your tracking app hands you back so-called exercise calories to eat, please ignore them. Eating back those calories will cancel out your own deficit, and you'll be left wondering why you're stalled and no idea it was ever happening. Why your numbers aren't always the whole story. Now, everything I've walked you through so far, your maintenance, your deficit, knowing when to move between them, that's generally most of it. But I'd be lying to you if I said the numbers fix this for every single woman, because for a lot of you, there's something else running underneath all of this. Maybe it's a story you've been telling yourself for years about why you can't do this. I have no willpower. I always self-sabotage. This is just what happens to my body now. Maybe it's your environment, the same cupboard, the same routine, the same stress that keeps pulling you back into old patterns no matter how much you know. Maybe you're a stress eater or an emotional eater, and food has quietly become the thing that gets you through a hard day, a lonely night, or a house that's finally gone quiet. If any of that is true for you, and I'll guess it's true for a lot of you watching this, you can know every single number perfectly and still end up back here in 12 months. Because the numbers were never the only problem. The habit and the story sitting underneath them are just as real. And if they don't get worked on alongside the food, you'll keep repeating the exact same cycle, just a slightly different number each time. You need to change your identity so this all runs on autopilot. This way, it stops being a diet and becomes your lifestyle for the rest of your life, which then finally creates food freedom, where everything you've done before has failed, even when it worked. So here's the part that actually matters, and it's the reason this video is different to every other fat loss video you've watched, including any I'd made before. Even if you do everything I just said, you track properly, you hit your protein and your fiber, you get your deficit right, you train, you walk, you still end up right back here in 12 months. Because almost nobody ever teaches you what to do once you've lost the weight. You cannot stay in a deficit forever. Women over 30 especially cannot live underfed year-round. Your metabolism will adapt, your hormones drop, your hunger goes through the roof, your strength starts disappearing. So, what do most women do when they hit their goal? Either they keep restricting themselves with the deficit because they're scared to eat more, and eventually it collapses and they binge their way back to where they started, or they just go straight back to how they used to eat because nobody ever showed them the other option, and the weight comes straight back on because their maintenance never actually changed. That's the missing piece. That's the second number. That's your reverse diet number. And once you understand it, you are set up for this for the rest of your life. Not for now, but forever. So let's actually go through what a reverse diet is, because I don't think anyone's ever properly explained this to you. Reverse dieting is the deliberate process of rebuilding your calories back up once a deficit is done, gradually in a way your body can actually keep up with, rather than staying underfed indefinitely or slamming straight back to how you used to eat. Done properly, you'll land on a new maintenance number that's higher than what you were eating in your deficit, sometimes considerably higher, and your weight holds steady there. That number becomes your new baseline, your new normal, the number you can actually live on, go out to dinner on, have wine on, without it unraveling everything. This is the piece that makes the whole thing permanent, because once you've been through it properly once, you understand the mechanism. Not a rigid plan, the actual mechanism. So if life changes, a stressful season, aging, perimenopause, a new job, whatever it is, you're not starting from zero and guessing again. You know how to check your numbers and get back to steady. You're not doing this over and over for the rest of your life. You're doing it properly, and you're doing it once. How fast you increase, by how much, and for how long, that's exactly the part that has to be built around you. Because get that pace wrong on your own and you either stall the whole process or undo the fat loss you've worked so hard for. That's the piece we walk every woman through inside of our program.
The most amazing part of this program, though, is the reverse dieting phase, and I think that is what is lacking in so many other programs. Once I achieved my goal weight, I was guided through the process of reverse dieting, where we gradually increased my daily calories. This is something I never would have known how to do on my own, but it truly is the game changer in the whole process. I've now increased my calories by almost 1,000 calories a day, which still totally blows my mind. And I've maintained my weight now for over 6 months. This has just become a way of life for me. It's totally sustainable. There's no restriction. I never feel like I'm missing out. I travel a lot. I'm very social, and I never feel like I miss out on any of those things. And I think for the first time in my life, I have a real sense of freedom around food and around exercise and lifestyle. And so this reverse dieting phase is just the game changer. I'm now continuing to work on my strength and building muscle. And I'm just setting new fitness goals all the time because I'm feeling so great. And I just love my new lifestyle that this program has given me. I can't recommend this program highly enough. It's not a quick fix, but it's the fix that you need for your, not only for your body, but for your mindset, that will help you achieve your goals and give you that freedom around food and exercise, and you will not regret it. It will be the last program you ever need.
Here's what life actually looks like once you've been through this whole process properly. The numbers and the mindset together, not just one or the other. You go to family dinner and you're not the woman quietly panicking over the menu. You go to the birthday, the wedding, the girls' night. You have the wine, you have the thing you actually want, and it doesn't wreck your whole week. You understand food well enough by this point that you could generally get through a whole day without tracking a single thing, because you know roughly what a proper serve of protein looks like for you on your plate. And you know how to get enough fiber into a day without thinking about it twice. You're not standing at the menu thinking, I should get the salad, but the other option might genuinely have been the smarter call, because you understand food now instead of being scared of it. And this is where the reverse diet phase does more than just protect your metabolism. While your food's increasing and your body's settling into its new maintenance, this is also exactly where the mindset and the habit works alongside of all of it. Because we're not just changing what's on your plate, we're working on your identity underneath it. The story you've been telling yourself, the environment that keeps pulling you back, the stress eating, the emotional patterns, all of it. So that by the time you're on the other side, this isn't something you're sticking to anymore. It's just how you eat now. It runs on autopilot. because that's genuinely where your brain needs to land for all of this to actually last. And look, even if it takes you 12 months to get there, you have decades of life ahead of you where you never have to do any of this again. That's the actual trade on the table here. 12 months of doing this properly once against a lifetime of not having to do this again. How you'll actually know it's working? A couple of things on tracking your progress properly, because the scales on its own will lie to you. It fluctuates with your hormones, with sodium, with what you ate the day before. Use it as one data point, not the whole story. Track your measurements, watch how your clothes are sitting. Take photos. Most women see the physical change in photos long before the scales reflect it. Watch your strength in the gym, your sleep, your digestion. All of that tells you what's actually happening. Whereas the scales on any single day might tell you nothing at all. So here's the shape of the whole thing. Without me handing you a spreadsheet, you find your real maintenance calories, not a guess. You protect your protein and your fiber within those calories. You sit in a deficit that's actually the right size for your body, not the internet's idea of one. You learn how to set between deficit and maintenance on purpose, so holidays and your hard weeks don't undo months of work. You move and train in a way that builds you up instead of grinding you down. You deal with the habits and the story underneath it so the numbers actually stick. And once you've lost what you set out to lose, you reverse diet back up properly instead of either staying stuck, underfed, or sliding straight back to how you used to eat. Get that right once, and fat loss stops becoming this thing you repeat every few months. You know your maintenance, you know your deficit, you know your reverse diet number, you know yourself. And from here, if you ever need to adjust a holiday, stressful period, getting older, you're adjusting a system you already understand, not starting completely from scratch again. This is genuinely the difference between doing this once properly and doing it every single January for another 20 years. And that's really the question underneath all of this, not whether you can lose the weight. You've already proven you can do that. The question is whether this is the time you actually learn what to do once you have. So, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but how do I actually work out my numbers, my deficit, my reverse diet target for my body specifically? That's exactly the right question. And it's exactly what we sit down and map out with every single woman inside Shape. If you want to have high level one on one coaching, so you have your dream body and you make this a forever change, you can apply for coaching below. Or if you would like to understand the reverse diet phase a little bit more in depth, you can watch that here.